Well, we always say retirement is a journey, one that you shouldn't have to navigate solo. So that is why every week here on The Right Path to Retirement, we turn to financial advisor Jimmy Lynn, certified financial planner and the founder of Right Path Wealth Management right here in Las Vegas. As you're listening today, if you want to start the conversation, we're here for you. You can call us at 702-744-8344 to set a time on the calendar. It's going to be an initial 15-minute phone conversation, just you and Jimmy sharing some ideas. You can ask him questions. You can talk to him about what you're concerned about, and then he'll explain to you how he and his team may be able to help. 702-744-8344. Jimmy's local. He's got offices here in Summerlin and Henderson, and he is ready to start the conversation with you. You can also find us online anytime. We are at rightpathwm.com. You just click that Contact Us tab, fill out your information, and we'll have one of our Right Path teammates reach out directly to you. That's 702-744-8344 or rightpathwm.com. All right, Jimmy, let's get into it. We are fully into December, and 'tis the season for RMDs, our required minimum distributions. Uncle Sam says beginning at age 73, you cannot defer these taxes anymore. You have to dip into your 401k or your traditional IRA. And many people take just the minimum the government is asking, but let's think about it the other way. If you need more to live on, should you take the required amount and a little extra? Should you take more to bring your 401k balance down so that the RMD will be lower in years to come? Jimmy, talk to us about your thoughts here. What do most people do? What are you seeing?
Yeah, Casey, I think it takes proactive planning here because what most people do is they're well aware of the required minimum distribution. And so they just plan on taking those distributions at, it used to be 70 and a half, 73 now for most. And for many people, it's going to be 75. And so that's kind of been ingrained in people's mindset is, you've put away money in these tax deferred accounts, whether it be a 401k or a 403b. You just plan on taking that money whenever you're required to. But, that's not really being strategic because sometimes you need that money, right? So you want to plan for that. What we oftentimes implement is things like trying to fill up your tax brackets. So whenever you're taking money out, that money is going to be stacked on top of other income you have, like a portion of your Social Security, maybe a pension. But sometimes it makes sense if you're close to that top of that 12% tax bracket and you're $10,000 away, maybe you take an extra $10,000 and just put it in another account, or maybe convert that to a Roth IRA. If you're closer to the 22% tax bracket, you can do it then. You have a little bit more room there. You could put, $20,000, $30,000 away, because we do believe that tax rates are historically low and they probably will go up, is what many people think. So it could make sense to kind of start creating those tax-free buckets where we're big proponents of different tax buckets, but also just replenishing, the timeframes that you need your money. You may not need that money right now, but you may need it next year, and you don't want to scramble for those assets then. So it makes sense to start creating some different tax buckets and income buckets. So we do, have strategic plans to how to exit out of those retirement accounts instead of just following the RMD rules.
Well, let's say you're looking at your 401k statement and you're wondering, should I take just a little more out this year than Uncle Sam says I have to? That can be tempting, and sometimes it makes sense, but before you make that move, you should think about what happens next, right? When you take out more than your RMD, how could that affect your future tax bills and your overall retirement income plan?
Well, I think that there definitely are ripple effects, but I would argue it's if you do not take more money out of those RMDs, because people get excited when the government says, hey, we're going to move back that time frame and when you have to take those RMDs. But do any of us really think the government is doing us a favor? I mean, because when you delay taking money out of those retirement accounts, it means those values are growing in those accounts. And so that means more taxes to the government. It also means that you're probably closer to death, unfortunately. And so if you're a married couple, that means that the surviving spouse is going to have to start paying taxes at that single filing status, which is higher. Or if it gets passed on to your kids, they're going to have to most likely pay at higher rates. So it's actually pushing that asset further down the line to where it grows in value and potentially has a higher tax rate, and taxes could be higher. So I think that, yeah, absolutely. If you're not taking money out proactively, you're just kicking the can down the curve and potentially paying higher taxes. So if a lot of this sounds daunting to you, and you have a tax deferred retirement account, in a 403b, a traditional IRA, or a 401k, and you're trying to figure out how to most efficiently exit out of that. I mean, if you're listening to us now, that's exactly what we work with our clients on. So give us a call. I do have 5 spots this week to talk to people. You can reach us at 702-744-8344, and we'll just start off with a phone conversation, see if I can give you some actionable advice, and maybe even invite you into our Henderson or Summerlin offices.
Yeah, we've opened up those 5 spots on the calendar just for our radio listeners this week. So give us a call right now. We'll set up a time for your initial phone conversation with Jimmy. Remember, this is a no fee, no obligation initial step in the planning process. So again, that phone number 702-744-8344. If you are 5 to 10 years from retirement, this is where you're really going to see that power of this kind of planning really take effect. We want to show you what Right Path Wealth Management can do for you and how you can keep more of your hard-earned money out of Uncle Sam's pocket. So let's put that time on the calendar for your initial conversation with Jimmy. 702-744-8344 or online at rightpathwm.com. You'll just tap that contact tab, fill out your info, and we'll have a teammate reach out directly to you. 702-744-8344 or rightpathwm.com. Now, Jimmy, I feel like delaying retirement is a hot topic right now. I feel like we've been talking about this on the show a lot lately. And if you're about 10 years away from when you think you'll retire, you might be looking closely at how much you've saved so far. And if you're not happy, Yahoo Finance's Carrie Hannon says plan for ways to bring in more income. And one option, work longer. Let's hear what she had to say.
I'm not saying pedal to the metal. It doesn't have to be. People who retire at 65, my goodness, you could have 2 plus or 3 decades in retirement. So this is something to consider as an ongoing way to bring in some income as you approach, kind of tip your toes into retirement full time, right? So a lot of people may inch into this. They may work part-time, consulting. There are lots of ways to slice and dice it. But the point is, start thinking 5 years in advance about what that might be.
So that sounds good in theory, Jimmy, but I wanted to chat about what happens when that decision isn't up to the person. How do you help your clients prepare a plan B for an unexpected early retirement? What's that process like?
Well, Casey, that's a great question because I've sadly seen it far too often where I'm meeting people that are in their early to mid 60s and they have plans of, they feel good, they enjoy their profession, and they have plans to work several more years. And that's part of the retirement plan, is building up those accounts through their employment. And then they lose their jobs. And, it's in the news right now, a lot of people losing their jobs. But I will tell you, as most people already know, it's more difficult to jump back into the job market when you lose your job in your 60s. I actually tell a story in the seminars that I do about my own personal experience where my father, he retired at the age of 65, had some bad advice and had to go back to work and ended up, he was an accountant, but when you lose your job at 65 and you try to go back to work, you can't get that same job. It's very difficult. So he ended up becoming a security guard making $9 an hour. So that's my personal experience. And I meet clients all the time that are losing their jobs at this point in their life through no fault of their own. So it is important to be proactive and take control if you can. Start thinking about, how do I want to spend my later years and what makes sense? Do you have a skill set that can transition into maybe a side business that you can offer your services to? I'm a big believer also in YouTube University. You can learn virtually anything on that platform.
YTU. I'm a proud graduate many
Absolutely.
times over.
100%. And look, the reality is if you take 2 to 3 years of trying to develop a skill set, it can change your life. And it does take that mind shift. And sometimes I have to work with clients not only on the financial side, but really on the lifestyle side of trying to be an advisor there. And because we're all aware of the world we live in, we're living longer, things are costing more, and sometimes our retirement accounts might not be enough. So it's important to plan 5 to 10 years ahead of that so that you can put yourself in a better position and take more control of your situation.
Whenever people think about supplementing their retirement income, I think the classic image is picking up a part-time job. You're working retail, you're the Walmart greeter, you're the security guard like your dad was. But I'm wondering if generating income in retirement could look a little different and maybe even more interesting. You kind of just touching on it. Are there creative ways to generate income in retirement that go beyond that traditional part-time job, things that people might not even be thinking about?
Well, we look at things, that there are all the things that we had talked about. There's all things like getting a rental property, getting some income through that. A lot of that does require resources. If you have the resources and you've done a good job of saving in your retirement accounts, it is important, when you're 5 to 10 years away from retirement, to start repositioning those assets. They've probably grown based on the bull market that we've been in. And now that they've grown to a point where you can actually do something with it, sometimes it's positioning them into investments that pay dividends. That's very popular, and we do that a lot with our clients. There's setting up income annuities, because if you set up an income annuity, but you don't need it for like 5 to 10 years, you get the best bang for your buck because those accounts grow in value and you get a guaranteed income stream. And there's things like, again, maybe you want to pick up a rental property as our housing market kind of is teetering right now. So there's different ways of looking at it. But yeah, I mean, you got to start being creative and really just thinking about it ahead of time.
You want to have a plan in place, and putting that plan in place all starts with a phone call. 702-744-8344 is the number that you are dialing right now. We have teammates standing by off the air, ready to take your call. Let's set a time on the calendar for an initial 15-minute phone conversation with you and Jimmy. This is a no-fee, no obligation first step in the planning process. 702-744-8344 is that number for you to dial. It's just a space to ask some questions. Explain to Jimmy what you're worried about, and then he can share with you his ideas on ways he and his team might be able to help. You can also always go to rightpathwm.com to get started. You'll just click the Contact Us tab and fill out your info, and we will be happy to reach out directly to you, or just give us a call right now. Let's set a time on that calendar to help you get some answers to your questions, beginning that conversation with you and Jimmy. 702-744-8344, 702-744-8344. That is going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with more great insight from certified financial planner Jimmy Lynn here on The Right Path to Retirement. Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management.
Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations, wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships.